very important for us to know the times we are in, so that maybe we can also know how best to thrive. And to me, when we're having a conversation, I felt like, based on my background and experience that I've had at Junior Achievement Uganda, which has impacted over 150,000 youth across the country, I just felt in my spirit that something that I needed to share on this community was something that probably could be a concern of especially young people. When I was sharing with Steve, he told me that the audience, most of them are probably at uni or have just started work, or maybe some of them have left uni and maybe they don't have jobs. Or maybe the information that I'm going to share would actually help some of us who already started somewhere to cope with a few things. So let me just dive, because I know time is not on our side. I'll dive straight away into the conversation for the day. There's a big highlighted question. Would you hire you? Would you hire you? And the topic mainly being learning on the job versus being work ready from day one. Okay. As another question I may pose, when you say, would you hire you? The next question is, do you know you that you want to hire? Do you know you that you want to hire? Because I believe if you want to hire yourself as a company or an organization, every organization that you go to, even Borawatu as a place, they have a mission, they have a vision, and they have values. Now, the mission and the vision of any organization, be it a bank, be it whatever it is, it simply clearly tells you that they know exactly what they're doing and where they want to go and what they want to achieve and what they stand for. So the question is, all the organizations or the companies, whatever we want to, places we want to get ourselves in, these people have taken time to research, to get a team that is going to develop the best mission and the best vision that is always going to keep them hooked for years and years and years, and then the values. If you're to see the biggest organization, the biggest companies, one of the things that has kept them going and to last 50 years, 100 years, and what they keep saying, the vision of the company and the mission of the company and the values of the company. And if you walk into some of these big companies, the first thing you see on the wall is the mission, is the vision, is the value, simply meaning that the environment you're getting in is well prepared to go where it's going. The biggest challenge here is that some of us, we are going into an environment that is already clearly set on what they want. But for us, we don't know ourselves. Okay, we don't know ourselves, and this brings me to the idea of self-awareness. To me, being the center of everything, especially in times like this, we've had so many people just quit their jobs because they were just doing the job, maybe because they're just paying them money. And they tell you, I just quit my job because I felt like this wasn't something that I wanted to do. Or I want to be in a certain place. But what are they looking out for? There's nobody who doesn't want to bring in somebody who is already aware of who they are. Because even these places that we're looking at are asking us, require us to actually know ourselves better. So the first thing that I want us to look at, learning on the job versus being work ready from day one. So I think being work ready is the first thing. Being work ready is the first thing before you actually even get the job. So being work ready from day one. From day one, we are identified by what we study or schools we go to or the backgrounds where we come from or how we were raised, and so many other things get to identify us. And sometimes we get to say, this is who we are because of where we come from. You hear a Mchiga telling you, for me, I'm a Mchiga. This is what I believe. For us, we are Mchiga, because he knows where he's coming from. You hear somebody saying, for us in Buganda, this is so. Most of the times we are identified by our backgrounds. But the question is, do we know ourselves? And there's no specific answer to you knowing yourself. Why? Because knowing yourself or discovering yourself or knowing who you are is a life journey. And others get it, others don't get it. Others get it late, others get it early enough. Okay. So the time we take in discovering who we are and knowing ourselves sometimes can dictate on where you should be at a certain time. Okay. Some, it might take a very difficult situation to get to know yourself better. Others have had all these motivational speakers, and what most of them, they will tell you they discovered who they are at the worst point in their life. But we are in a times whereby we don't have to hit rock bottom for us to be able to know ourselves. Why? Because platforms like Borawatu are there. YouTube is big. On anything that you want to know about yourself, it's a school of its own. Gone are the days when information about life and everything that we want to achieve has been hidden away from us. We are living in a global village where content, information, anything you want to know about yourself, about anything, is out there for you to know yourself. So, but the question is, do we know ourselves? Do we know our gifts, for example, that God gave us? Sometimes we might chase things, but yet we have the simplest gift that God could have given you that could make you stand out, and you can leverage on actually to get somewhere. It may not necessarily be that it's a gift that is going to take you, but even if you walk into a workplace, it could be that gift that God gave you that could make you stand out. But if you're not aware of it, how will you be able to stay in the same workplace or to get yourself anywhere in a place that is very competitive? Why I'm saying this is because the statistics are showing that in as much as there's a big percentage of youth unemployment across Africa and Uganda, if I may say, there's also statistics that are showing the level of unemployability, that the young people are not employable. Why? Because most of us don't know ourselves. What's your gift? What's your strength? What do you think you're good at when you sit down? And these questions are asked to us when we walk into the boardrooms, or when we walk into the interview room, or somebody who's serious asks you, so who are you? Can you describe yourself? Do you know yourself? Do you know your gifts? Do you know yourself emotionally? Some of us are weak emotionally. Do you know that personally, this is what I can take in and this is what I can't take in? Do you know yourself emotionally at that level? And in this day and age, where everything we do rotates around emotions, and that becomes the center of everything, of actually us knowing ourselves emotionally. Now the word emotional intelligence is coming in and being a conversation. Emotional intelligence. You need to have a high emotional intelligence. Some people have even made it their dating standard. I can't date a guy who is not emotionally intelligent. I can't date a woman who is not emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence. Why? Because everything else that you're going to deal with on earth in life has got an emotional attachment to it. Any struggle that you're going to be going through, you're going to deal with it at an emotional level. Now, one of the things some of us don't know is how much are we people who are too emotional. There are people who are detached and they don't care about anything that happens to them. They just go through life like that. People who are too emotional, anything small just pushes them in the corner. You know, the people who are emotional just want to attach themselves to everything. Now, your emotions are going to dictate on how you deal with every situation around you. Now, some of us who carry on emotions for long, you find that something has happened between you and your friend, and for 3 months, you're still holding on to that, and it's holding you back from moving forward. You attach yourself to anything small. You'll get a job today, somebody will talk to you, and tomorrow you're not sure to work, and you underperform, and you quit that job because somebody said something to you. So, us knowing ourselves to that level of knowing our emotions, knowing our emotional triggers, what triggers us, what are our emotional triggers? What is that thing that you know, this triggers me if somebody treats me like this? Because that eventually is going to set the values. Knowing yourself is going to help you set the values for yourself. So self-awareness becomes the center of us knowing and giving us direction. And also showing us or letting us, you know, realize what exactly could be out there for us. Because from self-awareness, from emotional awareness, there's also what they call environmental awareness. or social awareness, being able to be aware of these times and situations like this. In the Bible, if you're a believer like me, they will tell you of the times and the seasons. Being able to know the times and the seasons and know that we are living in times like this, and therefore, what does it require of me to prepare myself? Or else the season will pass me, the times will pass me. I may not be able to thrive to my best because I am not aware of the environment where I am. But it all stems from you first knowing yourself, knowing what your gift is, knowing what your strength is. Today I was talking to a young lady who just came back from school. So I looked at the report and I asked her, I said, so look at your report. Maybe you didn't perform well in the subject and this. So what are you going to focus on? And she told me, I'm going to make sure that I focus on the ones that I failed. I told her, but look, I know in school they tell you that, but in life, they will tell you again that focus on what you're good at. And that's the contrary that we're in now. We leave school, they tell us to focus on our weaknesses because they will tell you, go and revise what your weakness is. I'm not good at history. I got a C in history or a D or an E in history, but I got an A in literature. So the question is, where should I focus? And then when I triggered that question to her and said, so what are you going to do about this report? She said, I'm going to focus on where I did perform. I said, well, fantastic, that's good. But guess what? Life, at some point, they will tell you, focus on what you're good at. I'm not saying don't go and read entrepreneurship because you got to 50, but I'm only telling you that if you're going to university, the course that you want to do should be directing you on probably where you should put more strength, as well as lift up these ones that you think you're not good at. If you excel highly in the subjects that are going to give you the course that you're going to do, because everything now is narrowing down, then maybe that will give you a chance to get a combination of your choice at the university. But if you choose to go up left, right, and center, then eventually you get to university and now you ask yourself, what course do I do? But I didn't say that in a way that I wasn't telling her to go and revise. I told her, but look, when you get out of life, remember that your strength, what you're good at, is what makes you stand out. But the system has programmed us the other way around, to always look at our weaknesses. So the question is, what are you good at? What is your, because I believe that everybody is good at something at some point. There's nobody who is not good at something. So the question is, what are you good at? Okay. So self-awareness becomes the center of everything else that we want to actually be. If there is any workplace that we're going to go to, sometimes we keep in organizations because some organizations align with our values and our mission and our visions of where we want to go. The current job that I'm doing right now as a business development manager at Junior Achievement Uganda, which is a youth-based organization that focuses on youth mentorship. To me, one of the things that pulled me to that organization, because I'm very passionate about youth mentorship and coaching. I'm very passionate about that. And I talked about this over 10 to 12 years ago. And I remember writing it down. And here I am working with an organization that aligns with something that I wrote down 12 years ago. I didn't know where I was going to end up 12 years later. Okay? So, to me, I always say that self-awareness is the beginning of everything, but knowing yourself to that level emotionally, and it's okay to get lost at some point for you not to be able to know yourself, because it's a life journey. But I always say, as I wind up on this particular one, I always say, if you ever get lost and you feel like you don't know where you are, and that is very okay and normal. There's always one person who knows. Your sister may not know you, your brother, even sometimes your parents may not know you, because some of us, maybe we've grown up without our parents, without people very close to us. There's only one person, and that's the person who knew you before you were born. The person who knew you before you were born. So for those who know, if you know, you know, I mean, it's God who knew you before you're born. And if at all there's anywhere you should run to, to ask, to find out who you are, the best person to ask is actually God. Because the more you get closer to him, the more he reveals himself and yourself to you. The more he will point you probably in certain direction if you need spiritual guidance. Because we are living in a world that spiritually you have to be aligned. Whether you like it or not, you cannot just afford to be in a place without aligning yourself. Without having a backup. Who is that backbone? Who is your backbone? Who do you rely on in the most difficult times where your parents will not be, your brother will not be? Who is going to hold you up? We are living in times even where you cannot rely, you may not be in position to rely on your partner. Or if she walks away, or if he walks away at some point, who is that you're going to run to? And you need that anchor. Because the difficult times, if they haven't come at some point, I'm not saying they will always, but you will have a decision to make that will be very difficult and complicated at some point. So it's important for us to know ourselves. It's important for us to be socially aware or environmentally aware, or to be aware of the times that we're living in, so that you can know how you can prepare yourself. Maybe that can also help you to know who should give you your first job, or where should you go. Starting out, when I was in school at campus, I had to look for a job actually as soon as I got into my Form 6 VAC, because I said I cannot stay at home doing nothing. I looked for a job in a casino. I was working in a casino as customer relations on the floor. I got to see all these rich guys spending money. I'd never seen somebody playing with 200 million on the table. Just in a spin of 30 minutes, 1 hour, it's gone. So while I was there, I was introduced to direct selling, which was sales. And I looked at it and I said, there's potential for me to make money. But as I started that journey, I realized it wasn't even more about the money. It was more about developing myself and the skills that I needed. Okay? And that to me is what jump-started my life. It was a very difficult experience to sell, but at the same time, it's where I learned the biggest lessons for me. Okay? So the question here is, you want to learn from the job, but before you even learn from it, who is going to give you the opportunity to learn from the job? So sometimes you need to be self-aware for you to be able to get yourself in a place wherever you want. Why? Because your self-awareness, you know your values, number one. Number two, you get to know what inspires you and what motivates you. What inspires you and what motivates you. And eventually, when you get into this place of work at any one point, because you might need to start from anywhere, there will never be a specific place that you might have to. For those, some of the people are lucky. They get out and they have somewhere to start from. Okay? But the majority of us who are unemployed or who are searching for jobs and everything, it may require us to start from anywhere for purposes of just understanding what we are actually meant to do for ourselves. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. So at that point, I didn't know exactly what I was up to, but in the process of learning the skills of how to communicate, how to sell, I realized that I could actually even do more. And that's what propelled me into the career of what I'm doing right now as a professional marketer, as well as business development. So lack of self-awareness is one of the reasons as many of us are actually lost in this world, and we're just trying to figure out what to do with ourselves. For me, if there's anything that anybody could have told me at a younger age, they should have told me to discover myself, to build my confidence even more. And that could have helped me at an earlier stage. But some of us, we had to figure out things ourselves. It's not like these days where Stephen has organized a Google Meet for us. So from self-awareness, where do we go? What next? You've discovered yourself, you have the skill. Now, eventually, you are in the job that probably you don't know, that probably you'll have to learn. Most of us, we know very well that even when you started at uni, when you get in a job, you have to learn afresh. You have to learn afresh. And from self-awareness is when now you have to know how to lead yourself. And I just have just, the 5 C's, small C's of leadership that we always talk about, especially in the curriculum that we use at Junior Achievement Uganda. Okay, to guide the youth, especially in work readiness. When you get into a work, you'll be self-driven. You have to lead yourself to wake up in the morning, to make sure you clock in by 8, to make sure that you leave, to make sure that you report on time, to make sure that your daily activities are done the way they're supposed to be done. And to be honest with you, there's nowhere you go where you never have those standard measures that are going to use as KPIs to measure your performance. And this is where, if at all somebody never told you about leadership, you have to start learning about this as early as possible. If you're at university, spare off some time and learn a few things about leadership. And some of the 5 C's that we talk about at Junior Achievement, majorly, especially for us, the young people who are trying to get into the job space, we talk about self-leadership. And the best person that you can ever lead is none other than yourself. Because after you've left school, after you're out of your parents' home, I can guarantee you the rest of the life you're going to navigate it yourself. And you're going to get the compass to lead you to wherever you're going to do by yourself, nobody else. So we look at your capability, which is still aligned to your self-awareness. What do you think you're capable of doing? Some of us, you're looking for a job and you walk in and they ask you, what can you do? And you say, everything. You say, everything. For me, I can do everything. You can't do everything. You cannot do everything. If you're saying you can do everything, then you probably don't know what you're good at. However small it is, whatever you know about yourself is what you're going to sell best. So what's your capability? What's your strength? What's your power? Because your strength, your power is what can help you stand out within a team of interns that have come in a workplace and they say, no, we want to retain this guy. We want to retain her because she has this about her. What are you capable of? Because now, if there are 30, 40, 50 people who have gone through the same screening process, or you are interns, all of you in the same workplace, what is going to make you be wanted at the job or kept in a workplace than the rest of the people? And that capability is what is still going to make you stand out in the public and thrive, and probably not be mediocre or stand out in whatever you're doing. Good. So, but because you know what you're capable of, you know your strengths, you know what you're good at, that boosts your confidence. And that's the second C, it boosts your confidence. So it's very hard to find somebody who does not know what they're good at and they're that confident. In most cases, you find the most confident people are people who know what they're good at and they know that 100% they can deliver. And that's where the center of confidence comes from. Confidence comes from somebody seeing something in you and saying that you're good at this. This is what you're good at. Or you discovering that I'm good at it. That boosts your confidence. So,
straightforward, no chaff. What you can do? I don't know if it's on our end.
as you navigate through, the first thing is you know yourself, know what you're capable. Then that boosts your level of confidence. Then as you're in this same workplace or wherever you are or you want to start from, the next thing is connection. How do you connect with other people? As you go out to network, as you do what, how do you build your connections? And this is very difficult, especially I've seen you guys saw stories that were moving, I think, on social media about some top officials from one of the big companies around the telecom company. And the girls were busy exposing the guy that, instead of giving them the jobs that he promised them, he was instead leading them in different directions. I don't know how true that is, but I'm just saying, sometimes as a way of trying to build connections and what, we compromise on our values. And sometimes our values are connected to us not knowing who we are. we don't have the confidence about ourselves. So we have to sell ourselves low for us to get somewhere. And I understand the politics that is involved. But if you're to see what is happening, it's all connected to so many things. So how are you going to build your connections to make sure that you're not compromised in so many ways, but eventually, professionally, you're leading yourself somewhere. Your connections are going to also be linked up so much on your capabilities and your capacity to actually know yourself better. The other thing is, do you know how to communicate? Do we know how to communicate? In this day and age where we have chat GPTs and short messaging and all these things happening, our communication barriers are actually growing even bigger. When we're on the phone, we can't talk to people. When you're in a workplace, we don't know how to communicate. When we are responding to even an email or a simple text or anything, our communication is completely disconnected. But guess what? A person who is more aware of themselves, they know what they're talking about, it can become easier for you to communicate. And they say, people sometimes judge you based on what you say. What comes out of you describes who you are. So how do you communicate? Some of us, the way we communicate tells where we come from and how we're raised. You get, or our past experiences that we've gone through. So how are we communicating? And that's the fourth kind of leadership, the 5 C's of leadership. As communication being one of the things that you can use to lead yourself. People who are good communicators in almost everything. I was watching a YouTube podcast the other day, and they were saying in relationships especially, that men, we have the worst communication, skills. And it was unbelievable looking at the statistics. I said, well, imagine somebody being very, very good communicator at the workplace, but a bad communicator in a relationship. So, and communication actually bridges the biggest gaps almost in everything in our workplaces and even in our personal lives on how we communicate with people. I've heard people saying, me, communication is a deal breaker. If somebody can't communicate effectively, it's a deal breaker. So how have you worked on your skills to be able to communicate with the rest of the people? And of course, as you communicate, as you connect, connection also is connected to collaboration. I know some of us, yes, who could have been raised, everything is around us, is based on us. We don't know how to collaborate. You work in a workplace, you don't want to socialize with people, you don't want to talk to people, you go in a networking event, you're standing alone, you're seated alone, you can't connect with people, you can't communicate. So why? Because you're not confident about yourself. And why aren't you confident about yourself? Because you're not sure about yourself. And why aren't you sure about yourself? Because you're not aware of who you are. But when you know yourself and you're confident about it, then it becomes easier for you to be able actually to communicate. So then to be able to understand the cultures, to understand your culture. Why? Because cultures set values. What's a culture? It's a set of norms and values that people believe in that separate us. Banyankore, Baganda, whatever it is you come from, understand your culture. But also, as you walk into a workplace, the workplace also has its own culture. You're not going to come and say, for me, I'm Muchiga, this and this and this, I shout at people. No, you don't just shout at people because you're loud. I like using an example because that's where I come from. So you're not going to come and say, for us, this is what we believe in, therefore I can't do. It's going to be difficult for you to work. So how are you able to be aware of where you are at that time and be able to know your values that are not going to stoop low because of where you come from, or to get manipulated by certain things that are coming in, and because you think you have to fit in, and therefore you have to compromise your values or anything. So why I'm sharing some of these things is because all these things are actually affecting us in life, or even on how we are moving towards certain places where we want to be. So these that I'm talking about, they shape our attitudes towards work. And of course, I understand things have changed. We have technology coming in and observing, and rather technology coming in and us adopting technology and doing so many things that we believe that we can do with technology. But our communication, the way we present ourselves, has also been cut short by the so-called technology. At my workplace, there's a girl who came in, an intern, and even responding to an email, she was asking ChatGPT. She couldn't think until she kept on copying emails and forgetting to, I think, to delete certain things at the bottom. So the people kept on asking, what does this mean? What does this mean? Only to realize that she was using ChatGPT to respond to emails, which I understand with respect. But ChatGPT is not going to emotionally connect with you, with the people around you. So the capability and the confidence will help you drive your self-awareness more and social awareness skills, whereas the connection, the communication, understanding your culture will help you in enhancing your team building skills to be able to fit in a team and work with the team. You need to know how to connect with people. You need to know how to communicate with people. You need to be able to understand the culture of the place and where you are. These things can be seen as basic things, as things that we live with, but at the same time, research shows that these are the same things that are actually affecting us in the same places where we are. Okay, but the bottom line for me here is this. I know these things, we've heard about them. The question here is, it falls all under into a bigger picture of your dream of where you see yourself. All these things that you're going to learn, or whatever you're going to learn to try and fit in, is entirely going to be based on where do you see yourself. Because where you see yourself will determine what process you have to go through to get there. I'll give an example that you like using. Your dream is probably to become a CEO of a big corporation, or an MD of a big corporation. Let's give an example. Let's say Stanbic, or big bank, in a prominent bank. But you know that the journey to you becoming an MD, you're not just going to skyrocket. And we like asking this question. Maybe I can just have one or two people text me here, in the chat room. What's the difference between a dream and a goal? Or what's a goal? What's a dream? Can somebody maybe just share? Just text in the chat room. What's a dream and what's a goal? What's the difference between a dream and a goal? Somebody's saying dream. A goal is short term and a dream is long term. Okay. Anybody else? A goal is something you're acting on. Dreams are something you create in your mind that can take any shape or form. A goal is a short-term aspect of where you see yourself, and a dream is a long-term aspect Goal is specific, while a dream is a broader perspective and vision kind of thing. Yes, the reason I ask this is because a goal is action oriented, a dream is more of a desire. Yes, okay, a dream, just to simplify it, because we are running short of time, a dream is a bigger picture of where we see ourselves. And I remember when I started out in sales over 13 years ago, they told us to come up with dream boards and vision boards and pictures of things that we want to do, where we want to see ourselves, the things that we want to become in the future. And it was an exercise that some of us never took serious, others took it serious, some people never took it serious. But a dream is for example, I'll use this example. If your dream, you're in high school and your dream is to run to represent Uganda in the Olympics, that's your dream, for example. The question is, what will be your goal? Can somebody type for me there? Maybe one or two people. If your dream is to run in the Olympics, to represent Uganda in the Olympics and bring a gold medal, and let's say you're in high school, what will be your goal? Number one. Yes, thank you very much, Ronnie. Your number one goal, for example, would be for you to win the school competitions. But even before you win the school competition, you might have to participate in the inter-house competition. Okay? But goal would be to win the local competitions. Perfect. Perfect answer. Your dream is to win the gold medal, represent Uganda in Olympics, but you're in high school. Your goal in high school is to make sure that you win the competition in high school. Now, from high school, you'll be selected to go and compete at district level. You hit that goal and you win at district level. From district level, you'll be probably selected to go and compete and start training in Nambole at national level. And then from there, you move from one step to another. Eventually, the day you win the gold medal for the country, people will celebrate you and say, my dream was to actually represent Uganda and win a gold medal for Uganda. Yeah. So what about if you don't have a dream at all, but you're just running as an athlete? Or what about if your dream is to win the gold medal for the country, but you don't even participate in the inter-house competitions? So it's the same thing. If your dream is to become an MD of a company, nothing will stop you from that. But the question is, where are you going to start from? The first thing is to see, how do I get myself in any small organization where I can start from? The starting point. And then know that you're going to build towards that. If it means you going back to do a master's degree, you'll have to go back and do a master's degree. If it means you're doing a professional course, you might have to go and do a professional course. If it means you having to first acquire 15 years of experience, you have to be patient to go through the process for 15 years for you to build credibility that to qualify you to become an MD or what. It's a process. So wherever we are, we should have a bigger picture of who we are, but also have certain things that we can achieve. They call them SMART goals. Specific, measurable, realistic, actionable. The goals that we should have, and time bound, because a goal has a time to it, a time frame to it. For example, in my professional career as a marketer, as channeled out, my goal is to make sure that I finish my level 7 and 1 year of masters in marketing professionally by end of next year. It's one of the goals that I set for myself. Level 7 by end of this year. Next year, I'm done, and I'm at the cap of my professional career as a marketer. That's one of my goals that I set for myself 3 years ago. So, but now, if I'm not looking at myself to grow to that level and I don't set that goal, what will happen? So, as we do these things, I know they sound small. Having a dream and having a goal and working towards your dream is one of the things that sometimes we don't take serious. But as you go into the workplace, as you plan to do whatever you're doing, you need to have this at the back of your mind. So I have 3 questions for me that I'll just leave for you as I wind up. I don't know, Steve, I think my time is almost up, but I just want to close with these 3 questions. Question number 1, what are some of the things you'll have to start doing, maybe to take you towards where you want to go? And what are some of the things that you will have to stop doing and continue doing? Question number one has to start, to stop, and to continue, to make sure that you achieve or you get yourself where you want to be. The second question is, whose help do you need and how will you get their help? Whose help do you need and how will you get your help? It could be as simple as that, writing it down. Whose help do you need and how will you get their help? Question two. Question three, what are the steps necessary? What steps are necessary for you to move forward? And then when will you take the first step, which is action? When will you take action? Are you going to keep procrastinating for that extra course that you want to go and do, the certificate you want to go and do? Are you going to procrastinate to approach, to walk into an office or walk into any place and ask for that job to start with? Are you going to procrastinate about it? But at the end of the day, action has to be taken. You don't take action in anything that is shared here. If you don't take everything that is shared here on Bora Watu, if you never take action in life, it will become difficult for us to actually get where we want, live our dreams, and to achieve our goals. Thank you very much, Steve. Over to you.
Wow. Guys, let me see that round of applause. Wow, that is as succinct can be. Thank you very much, Keith. I liked all the things that you have said earlier in the beginning. You talked about that domestication of the narrative that if you're not good at certain things, then you can pound hard on those things, try to force yourself to become good at them. And, you ignore the things that you're good at. Oftentimes that is something that is quite ignored, especially with the topic that we are discussing now. How can we become work ready? There are things that we are good at, and personally what I have understood and taken from this, it is much easier for you to win at the things that you're already good at than trying to win at the things that you're already bad at. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, I'll allow maybe around 2 or 3 questions. If you have any questions that you would like to pass on to Keith, if you find yourself in a position where this speaks to you personally, how can I be ready for the job market or for the work market? And quite frankly, this goes beyond even the job market. There are those who are perhaps looking for work, and you have to submit, like a quotation for your services. Why should you be chosen? Why should it be you? If you have any question that you would like to pass along to Keith, please either type in the chat box or you can open your microphone and speak. In the meantime, Keith, as those questions come in, I'm interested in hearing, you said something I took note of, especially when it comes to communication. I had never noticed, but until today, that you've mentioned about, we have become so slaves to the tools that we're using. For example, the chat GPTs, the text messages, the WhatsApp messages, that even communication in itself has become quite very, 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 very difficult, or perhaps problematic. I'm interested in understanding how this balance is going to happen, that we are changing into this world where we are relying on these tools to think for us, but at the same time, like you've said in this presentation, call to everyone to have that level of self awareness that it all has to start from you before you even rely to the tools that are currently available. In the world that we are in now, there are so many tools that are really expunging all the tasks that one can do. But I'm interested in understanding from your point of view how one can take advantage of the tools that have been made available with a changing technology, and the need to take care of the thing yourself, starting from within, from your mind. Keith?
Yeah. I mean, of course, I'm not saying that technology is not good. Technology is good. We embrace technology. But whether we like it or not, God created us in a way that as human beings, we are meant to relate. And what technology, to a certain extent, is doing is to kill the gap between how we relate and communicate with each other and place itself in the middle. It's simply there to ease, to simplify our work. If you're good at communicating on the computer at one, yes, I mean, these days people even do remote jobs, but you realize that even in remote jobs, there are presentations like this. Most of the times you find people are on calls and they even tell you to switch on your camera because we want to see you, want to see where you are. So the element of communication will not stop in as much as there's ChatGPT, there is whatever it is. So the secret here is, how am I able to communicate with people minus chat? Because ChatGPT is not going to be in your house. For example, ChatGPT can be on your computer, can be where, but if you walk into your house, okay, you're not going to be using ChatGPT to talk to your kids. You're not going to be using ChatGPT to talk to your spouse. You can't use AI to talk to your spouse and say, because I'm in the era of ChatGPT, you sit there, I sit here. We keep sending each other WhatsApps. But what is happening is that we walk into workplaces or whatever it is, and everybody's on your phone. You even go out to interact where you should be meeting people and connecting with people. We can't communicate. This one is on their phone, the other one is on their phone. Even the right person is passing by you, who you should have said hello to, but because you're glued on your phone. Yeah. An email comes in and you're supposed to respond to it in a certain way. You just copy, paste in ChatGPT and say, give me a response to this email. ChatGPT doesn't know, because even AI, you as a human being, you have to understand how to prompt AI. To prompt AI to be able to give you whatever you want. So if you're not thinking, if you're not using your head to be able to prompt AI, AI will give you whatever you think and it could mislead you. So, like somebody has said, Oscar said here, there's need for a personal touch, emotional connection when it comes to communication. And Agaba said emotionless. I don't know what you meant, but there are people who are just emotionless in their communication as well. There's no feelings attached to whatever they say. And they say it the way they want and they don't care. We are already tired by just some politicians who just say things anyhow the way they want. And you're not happy because they don't know how to communicate. They're probably struggling with the idea of communication. Thank you very much. Absinja said it all goes back to being self-aware. When you know yourself and you know you're socially aware, and then then you're able to know that I have to say this at this point, and this is appropriate, this is inappropriate. There are places where you don't use certain words. Certain organizations where you don't use certain words, you don't say certain things to people of the opposite sex. If you use that, it can work against you. You're not going to come from your culture and whatever and you say, because for me, I'm from here, this is what we say. You look like this. Some places where you even go and tell people you're fat. And it's an issue, it's a case, it's an HR case, body shaming. And there are places where I'm telling somebody, you're fat. It's okay, people will just laugh about it and they walk away with it. So communication is in the choice of words, is in what you say, what's the emotional attachment to it, and how does it make people feel about themselves and about you. I'm not saying that you should just tell people things to make them feel good, but you can communicate something that somebody will be able to pick from and learn from appropriately. And this brings us now to our personal relationships. If you're dating with somebody or your spouse or what, that even when you want to communicate something, but sometimes you have to know when to say it and how to say it. You could be communicating the right thing, you say it at the wrong time. Number one. Number two, you say it the wrong way and it rubs off the wrong way and someone picks a different message. And before you know it, it's a war. And now you're struggling to clear the war. Yet you could have avoided it if you probably had clear communication skills. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah. You're definitely broken it down. And of course, like someone said, everything leads down to self-awareness. I like how you've given the answer. Guys, let's just give a final round of applause for Keith. You have done quite an amazing job today. Everything has been very clear. And of course, we have some action points. For those who have been writing down, there are some action points for you to go and execute immediately. I liked how all this whole conversation has led down to self-awareness. If you are at a stage where you have to get a better understanding of yourself, we encourage you to join the communities that we have created here. We have a self mastery program where we go through different sections of this the whole thing called self awareness, because it might seem like a long word, but there are certain specifics where you can start the journey. I recommend, even if it is not Borawati, you can reach out to Keith over here. He can definitely direct you on how you can begin that journey of self mastery or self awareness. We have a book club called Bora Reads. If you're someone who is interested in learning, because at least you know to be able to get better answers, you have to be able to ask better questions and have a deeper understanding of yourself. That is what we call self awareness. So the topic today has been learning on the job versus being work ready, and everything has been wrapping up towards self-awareness. You have to know exactly who you are to know what to work on. Keith, thank you very much. I appreciate that you have spared the time this evening to share with us this. For those who might want the recording, there's a recording in play that you can be able to have access on YouTube. We shall share it in the meantime. But otherwise, I would like to wish everyone a wonderful, or today is happy. So is it, do they say happy Labor Day or celebrations, happy holidays? But otherwise, if we don't speak, enjoy the rest of the week, enjoy the weekend. If you're not part of the Borawatu community, just check the message pinned in the chat box and you can join any of those spaces. It is an open group. You can join and learn a few things here and there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and have yourself a wonderful and lovely night.